My name is Jeff Hampton, and this is my Invasive Species project. The first species I'll be talking about is the parrotfeather, also known as the Brazilian water milfoil. Its scientific name is the Myriophyllum aquaticum. Yes. It originated in the Amazon River basin, in South America. So right here, down here. It was brought to the United States to be used in aquariums as decorations because people thought they looked pretty and they wanted their aquariums to look pretty. And they were also used on farms. They were grown on farms to be used in aquariums. So, yeah, and they escaped cultivation because people carelessly planted them outside of the farms, and the seeds and seed fragments got into the air and the water and spread. And now they're growing in a bunch of different places all over. Oh, that's not how I do it. They're the first documented case of them coming to the United States was on April 20th of 1890. They were brought to New Jersey, and there was a group of people who wanted to cultivate them to then sell them to people who wanted them in their aquariums. And then after they got out, they spread south. See? Yeah. Where are they now? They are in a bunch of states. They are all over. They also spread west, all the way up northwest, but mostly in the south. What states are they in? Well, they're in Washington, D.C. They are also in California, Alabama, Arkansas, Arizona, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Missouri, Mississippi, Montana, North Carolina, New York, New Mexico, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia. They're most densely populated, assuming is the right word, around Louisiana, Mississippi, and Florida. They're also a big problem in California. The impacts these have on the environment, they can quickly change characters of lakes, because they can, well, for one, they shade out the algae, because they grow taller than the algae, and they steal the sunlight from the algae, which then kills the algae. And the algae is very important because it is the basis, or part of the base of the food pyramid and the food web for the aquatic life. So it just knocks that out, and that severely changes the lakes. Yeah, they also provide ideal conditions for larval mosquitoes to grow. There is shade and place to hide, and also standing water. So mosquitoes probably love them. But they also clog up drains, and that's not good. They do a very good job at clogging up drains. This is a drainage canal, and as you can see, it is full of them. And they also grow deep into the water, so you cannot see, but it is probably clogged up in there pretty badly. Yeah, and that is where most of the damage comes from, the clogging of the drains and canals. California's 600 miles of waterways have been infested, and over 500 surface acres. And that causes drainage and irrigation issues because they just love clogging up drains. Longview Diking District in Washington, D.C., they spend over $50,000 a year to clear their canals and prevent flooding, which I guess for a state isn't a lot of money. There's a lot of money though to spend on something that is not needed if this was not spread. As far as what they look like, they have their leaves look like parrot feathers, which is where they got their name. They form circles. The leaves form circles around the stem. And these rows become closer as you move up. So see down here, they are farther apart, but as you go up, they're very close together. Also, this plant, its leaves are different above and below water, only in length though. Above water, they are 2 to 5 centimeters long. Below water, they are 1.5 to 3.5 centimeters long. And that is their identification. Control. The 50,000 that Longview Docking District spends is to mechanically remove the parrot feather. And in the Yakima River, state, tribal, and local agencies work together to remove it by hand, with the use of tools, obviously. Neither of these have any long-term effects because a year later, the parrot feather has probably completely regrown because it can spread very easily. The next species I will be talking about is the Rio Grande cichlid, aka the Rio Grande perch and Texas cichlid. Their scientific name is Heractis cyanogatatus. Yes, that is their name. The cichlids originated in the Rio Grande River, in southern Texas. So they were already in southern Texas. They're also in the river and parts of northern Mexico. And they were brought to Louisiana in the mid-1900s. No specific date could be found for this or any records, but in the mid-1900s, most likely they were brought to Louisiana to be used in aquariums. And a series of aquarium releases in Jefferson Parish in in 1989 released these into the waterways of Louisiana, in Jefferson Parish, and they spread to Lake Pontchartrain and into the canal systems, and now, also Hurricane Katrina helped spread them, but where they are now, all over Louisiana, and almost all of the waterways. Okay, well, in most of the waterways, canal systems and Lake Pontchartrain and in City Park. They're also in Florida and Texas, but they pose the biggest problems here because they are invasive here. They're also invasive in Florida, but they pose very big problems here because they eat our fish. And that is next. Yes. They pose problems on the environment because they are extremely aggressive and territorial. They threaten native fish, for example, largemouth bass, bluegill, and redfish, and they have already outcompeted some fish like the least killifish, like this one right here, and sheepshead minnows. The Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries has been trying to restore historical fisheries in Bayou St. John, but the cichlids are making it very difficult to do that because they eat the other fish or they outcompete the other fish. So it's threatening to ruin the efforts. Identification. They are normally 8 to 9 inches long, but they can exceed a foot. They are either dark or light, olive colored, and they have white and turquoise spots. You can see the turquoise spots here and here. They're also the white spots. They also have white, light brown fins. And they also have a flat face. Their body is round, and then when it gets to their face, it just kind of flattens out. But they have this bulging forehead, which looks kind of strange. To control them, the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries regularly puts larger fish, which are in competition with the cichlids, into the waterways to keep the cichlids in check. Also, the annual City Park Big Bass Fishing Rodeo and Festival is held in City Park every year, and 20 teams of 20 compete in one of the competitions. Teams of 20 compete to catch the most cichlids, and the winner gets a trophy, as you can see down here. These don't do much. The festival does not do much, but it is a fun way of getting rid of the fish. And putting larger fish in waterways does not change anything for the long term, but it does keep them in check. The next species is the raccoon dog, aka the mangoot or tanuki. Their scientific name is the Nycteridis prosinoides. They originated in Eastern Asia, so China, Japan, and Russia. Far East Russia. Southeast Russia. And they're invasive to most of Europe. They were brought to modern day, during the Soviet Union, they were brought to what is now Georgia and Azerbaijan. I'm not going to pronounce that correctly. I don't know how. They were brought there for hunting. In 1928, 9,000 dogs were released into these two countries, and they were hunted for fur, but not very efficiently, because now they have spread all over Europe, most of Europe, and yeah, now you can hardly find. All of the Eastern European countries have raccoon dogs, and they've spread all the way to France and some in Italy. 1 million cubs are born each year in Finland. Finland probably has the biggest issue with them. Finland and Denmark. Denmark not as much. Yes. And yeah, they move around and reproduce very quickly, so it is difficult to keep up with them, as they just spread all over randomly very quickly. Impacts on the environment: they're extreme threat to amphibians because they eat amphibians. Finland, for example, has almost no frogs, and they also carry disease and parasites that can harm humans. For example, the Echinococcus multilocularis is a tapeworm that can be fatal to humans if left untreated for too long. So yeah, they have been finding dead raccoon dogs and testing, and they have found a lot of different diseases that can harm us. As far as this tapeworm, only 3 or 5 cases have been reported. Identification: they basically have the head of a raccoon and the body of a dog. They have poofy fur, black circles around the eyes like raccoons, brown and black fur. But they are named raccoon dogs because, despite all their similarities with raccoons, they are not closely related to raccoons genetically. So that's a shocker. Because they look very, very similar to raccoons. As far as controlling these, they are still hunted for their fur. Almost every European government has banned them as pets or has warned against keeping them as pets. And Denmark is trying to study the species by tracking it to figure out how to keep it from achieving a stable population.